everyone, welcome back to the channel. Weird angle, I know, but well, let me bring you down and then we'll chat and then I'll put you back up there. So today's video is about the Separett toilet and quality content, but it is because I get a lot of questions about my toilet and how it's working, maintenance, that sort of thing. And I was just gonna clean it all, and I had been having an issue came up that I thought I would share with you in case you are thinking of buying one of these, just so that you're aware of. But yeah, so I thought I might as well show you what I do to clean the toilet when I am doing it, like the deep clean once a month. I often will use this the seventh generation cleaner, just for like quick weekly ones. But when it comes to the big deep clean, I like to fully open it up. I'm gonna unplug the fan right now because it's making a humming sound. Hold on. There. So I like to do a full clean scrub once a month, and at that time I pull everything out, including the lid that goes here. I pull that out and I throw it in the tub with a cleaner. I pull the jug out and throw it in there. Everything gets sort of thrown in there. I'm also going to wash the bucket. This is where the compostable bag goes for the solids. Everything's going to get a good scrub, including the little ring that goes over top of that solids jug to keep the bag in. You'll see it all go back together. And I'm going to give this all a really good wash inside and out so that it's perfectly clean. And then we can go over why I'm making the video, what I wanted to show you about it's the urine jug that we're going to be talking about today. Something specific about that. But the first thing I'm going to do is give everything a good clean. Let this sort of soak in the meantime, because there's a lot of dust that gets caught in the this flapper in particular, because there's the screen here for the bug screen, like to keep things out, and that gets dust in it, just that sort of stuff. And I think it's a good idea to give this sucker a good scrub once a month. You know, you clean your toilet, or at least I hope you clean your toilet at least once a month really well. And like I said, I'm doing a full big clean right now, just because, well, it's time, and because I want to show you what the problem was, and I didn't want to do it with a dirty toilet. So cue, what's the word? Time lapse. Now keep in mind, every time I use the toilet, I give this a spray with this solution, which is 90% vinegar, 10% water, and a few drops of peppermint essential oils and lemon essential oil. So this stays pretty clean in that it gets rinsed every time, but it does need a good clean on a regular basis. I find the most difficult part to clean is this little crease here, because it's hard to get a rag in there behind it. But everybody sits to pee on a compost toilet, so there's not a lot of splashing going around, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Now the jug for the solids doesn't get dirty, not really. I mean, it's always got a bag in it. But always good to get everything, give everything a scrub. Yeah. We'll give everything a rinse in a second. This is probably the part of the toilet that gets the dirtiest. Not probably, it is the part of the toilet that gets the dirtiest and needs the most cleaning. Okay. Okay, I'll just take that screen right off. These don't get dirty, they just sit on the jug, but we'll give them a little rinse. And the jug itself, this gets emptied once a week. It's just me, of course. If there was 2 people, you'd probably be doing this every couple of days because I have the jug. Now, you can get the Separett Tiny version that just plumbs right into a septic or an outdoor French drain or a holding tank or something like that. But I opted for the jug because I didn't know where I was going to end up. And I wanted to give myself some more options. And keep in mind that urine is sterile in general. So, you know, it's not like I'm washing number 2 stuff. I'll scrub my tub after because I'll do that on the weekend too. If those of you who watched me do this patch here because my tub was cracked and are wondering how it's standing up, if you want, I can link the video down below for when I did this, and also link the video down below where I do the review of the toilet. It's actually standing up really well, really well, which is good because I really didn't want to spend the money just yet to redo this all, but eventually this tub is coming out and a shower stall is going in, but maybe not this year. So let's just give this all a rinse and a dry, and then we'll put everything back together, and then we'll talk about the issue that I had with this. So if you have one of these, or you're thinking of getting one of these, what you want to remember is, if you don't hear that, then you need to make sure that you're cleaning this more often and better. Because what that is the little baffle that goes up and tells the sensor when this is almost full. So when that light is on, the light that you saw when I first started, when the fan was still going, when it was still plugged in, that's the light that tells you that the jug is almost full. Needs to be emptied if you've got one that's a jug. If this is stuck because you haven't cleaned this very well or very often, then you're not going to know, and it's going to overflow, which is going to be no good. Very bad day for you. And so when you see the light comes on, you know, it's in there, you're doing the business, and the light comes on, you usually have 2 more P's worth of space before it overflows. I never wait. I just automatically empty it right about then. And for those of you wondering and not having watched my previous video, how do I empty it? I've got a big funnel that I put in the drain here because this is plumbed into the septic system. And I pour it into the funnel, down the drain, and then I wash this really well, and I wash my tub, give it a good, a quick wash. Is going down the same drain as it would is if it was plumbed in over here. So that's how I do it. Anyways, so now that these are all clean, let's dry them and reassemble the toilet. For those of you who follow van lives, they just had some issues with their incinerating toilet that they had put in. And they were dealing with Cabin Depot, which is the same company that I dealt with when I bought this toilet. And I have my thoughts on Cabin Depot as well. Anyways, they had nothing but issues with theirs. Their incinerating toilet really sounded awful. So I'm glad that they decided, they managed to get that resolved. And they've ended up going with a Separett toilet, not the mini that I have, but the full size. Now the screen is to keep bugs out. There's also a screen on the end, it comes with it, on the end of the vent, because there's a vent I drilled through the house and put the vent pipe through there. And there is a little cap with a screen on the end of the vent pipe as well. And the purpose of the screens is to keep bugs out of your toilet, which I think everybody can agree is a good thing. So it just snaps into place there for extra protection from any buggage. This little sucker is a little guard that goes at the bottom of the funnel for the liquids to keep things from falling in there. And these are the two lids for the tops of the jugs. One goes here, and when you're pouring, and one goes here. If you were transporting this to, say, an outhouse or a flushing toilet somewhere, you would put these on for transport, and then you obviously need to take this off when you've got your toilet being used, and that one can stay on. It only comes off when you're pouring, because that's where everything pours out of. But I leave it on. Again, it just helps with the smells, but I don't really notice any smells. I've been using this thing now for a couple of years and not had a problem at all. So let me show you how everything goes back together, and then we'll talk about the other issue. Okay, so just bringing you in for a close-up. You can see there's little grooves there that fit into, these two. And so, I apologize for the noise. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. And so, you just put them over top, and then you press these down, and now the lid is up. So now we're just going to put the bag in the solids container. Don't know why I keep calling it a jug. And these are just regular compostable bags that you would use in your kitchen compost or anything like that. I do not compost my solids because I live in a community here. If I had my own compost bin in my own property, I would, and then I would use the compost for like trees and such, probably not for vegetables. But because I don't compost, this, when it gets, the bag gets emptied, it gets put into the regular trash. Now, that is legal. It's no different than baby diapers, adult diapers, dog poop, and cat litter. It's allowed. It just has to be obviously in a bag. So that's what I do. And then this just gets fit in here. And you know you've got it in there right, because this will sit nice and flush. I often struggle to get that in there right, not because it's hard, it's user error, definitely. When I bought my toilet, I ordered a second urine jug. Why? Because I wanted to have a spare in case something went wrong. I actually also have a second flap for the top here. When I first got this toilet, this wouldn't close properly. Now, there's supposed to be a bit of a gap here and here, just a little bit, because obviously air needs to circulate through there, so air needs to be able to get in order to circulate, right? It needs to be able to pull air in so that it can push the air out. Makes sense. But it didn't. And so I called Cabin Depot and I had to send them a video of it. And eventually they agreed to send me a second flap. Ironically, by the time that the updated flap came, it was working properly. So I don't know if it was just stuck, like kind of sticky because it was new. I don't know. And I didn't want to be able to, every time I sat down, to see a gap, because you could see the toilet paper and the other stuff in there every time you lifted up the seat. So that was no good. But I bought a second urine jug because I thought, oh, if there's two people in the house, then we can always put the fresh jug in and have the other jug ready to be emptied in whatever way it needs to. So I do have a second one. So this is what happened. There is, I'm going to put this back in here. There's a seal that comes in here. I'm just going to set this in. This is the new jug, because I just replaced it because I was having issues and I thought that I would have to put in the fresh jug. So there's this rubber seal here, and this rubber seal is meant to fit around this funnel end, and for the liquids to go in there and for it to form a seal. Well, again, I've been using this toilet for 2 years, and this is the seal. This is the rubber seal from the first jug after that length of time. You can see how it's warped, right? It got all, why am I so shaky? It just got totally deformed. And I think it's because when this hits this, it kind of pulls on this end here. And you can sort of see already, well, maybe you can't see. Let me pull it out. You can see already on that very end, it's starting to deform because it catches on here and it pulls it up and it kind of just works it. And so I called Cabin Depot because that's the company that I ordered the toilet from and the spare jug. I put this one in, the fresh one in with the seal, and then I called them and asked, could I buy some of these seals? And the fellow on the phone said, well, he didn't think they had any, but they could probably order me some. Separett does not ship to Canada to an individual. It ships to the US. There's like a Separett company division in the US. And when I looked online, they were like $9.99, so under $10 US on the Separett US website. The company is from Sweden. So Separett, the company, is Swedish, but they do have a US division. So I thought they could order me some. And when I talked to the fellow, I said, well, I might as well take like 6 or something like that if you're going to order them, right? I was thinking they'd be like, I get that it's $9.99 US, so I thought it'd be like $12, $13 each, which is still a lot. I was kind of originally thinking they'd be only a couple of dollars. Well, I get a call from, or an email from the lady at Cabin Depot to tell me that they are $24.99 each. Okay, I'm jumping in here to correct something from my video. As I'm editing and I looked at the quote from Cabin Depot for that seal, each of the gaskets was $24.95 Canadian, and shipping was $15.99, and the taxes then are on top of that. So not exactly $50. It was $43. Still a lot to pay for one tiny little rubber gasket, but every time I say $50 going forward in the video, I will put on the screen $43. And then shipping is going to be another $25. So it's going to cost me $50 a seal for these. I don't think so. Like, that's ridiculous. So I thought, okay, there's got to be a way that I can find something in the plumbing department at Canadian Tire or Home Depot or plumbing shop that could replicate this, right? It's not that complicated. It's just a little black rubber gasket. You can see the difference, right? You can see the difference in how these two look now. This is 2 years later, and this one, after only being in a week, already started to warp. No bueno. So I went to Canadian Tire. I did find this, which is the same thing, but too big. You can see the size difference. Whoops. So that's not going to work, but this flush valve spud washer is the right idea. Just way too big. So I think we'll go with this because it's the closest thing I can find. And I'm still not convinced I need a washer, but we're gonna give this a try. It's only a couple bucks. So not a lot of options in the plumbing department for something like this. I did find a gasket that looked almost identical, but it was a lot bigger than this. So I ended up, because that's 1 1/4, and that's what I needed. But I did find this basin drain gasket, and the opening was the same, but the profile is different. I'm trying to get this so you can see the difference, but the profile was different. But I thought, okay, well, maybe this will work. It fits on the top of here, but you know, it's loose, but it does fit on the top of here, and this opening will fit in here. But every time you lift this up, it pulls this gasket off with it. And I was concerned that this would somehow not sit properly. It would then divert the liquids into, well, outside of the jug. And that wasn't going to work either. This was only a couple of dollars, so I didn't really care that this didn't work. Fine. And then I got to thinking, do I even need a gasket? Like this fits in there. There's an opening right there that the liquids go into. By the time it gets down there, keep in mind all this is clean. This is there, so it keeps things from splashing down. Gross, I know, but we're talking toilets here. And so nobody's standing. There's not like a lot of liquid pressure going down in there. Would it even need it? Would it cause smells if I didn't have the gasket? Because I'm sorry, $50 for one gasket. That's one gasket. So I decided that I would give it a try and not put the gasket back in, even this good one, even though I've got the good one. Just going to put that aside, and I just decided to put this in as it was without it, and it has worked just fine. There has been no difference in smell. Again, I never smell anything, so there's no difference there. There's been, for the first week, every time I peed, after I sprayed this and wiped this down, I would lift it up to see if anything had splashed around. No. So what did I learn from this exercise? This, poorly designed. Very poorly designed, and unnecessary as far as I can see. Now, this is just my opinion, and obviously you need to form your own opinion if you have one of these toilets and have that issue. But if you do, and you have this issue, and you can't get these for $10, and I think $10 is a lot for these suckers. But if you want to spend $10, great. And you can get them in the US, fine. But if you can't or don't want to, this works just fine without that gasket. I've now been using it several weeks and not had it be any different than it was for the first 2 years that I used this toilet. So that is my... So that just fits in there. And then this comes down. And that's how it looks. So folks, I think this is my third or maybe fourth. No, if I count the two tub videos, then it's probably fifth or sixth video from my tiny house bathroom. And it's hard getting angles. That's why you're up so high. But I wanted to share that story so that if you are thinking about buying one of these, or if you have one and you're having the same issue, then you know my thoughts on that gasket. And if you're buying one of these from, say, the Separett US, then I would say definitely get a couple extra ones if you plan on using a gasket. But if you're thinking about buying this toilet and you want to know what the maintenance is like, that's it, basically. You can get two versions. You get the one that drains right automatically, like you actually have a drain hose that goes into your septic or your sewer system, or you can get the one like I did with the jug. And again, I got the one with the jug because I didn't know where I was going to end up, and I wanted to have options. But now you know what the maintenance is like. That's basically it. I would imagine eventually that fan will wear out because it's running all the time. It's off right now, but it's normally running all the time. And so I may have to replace the fan at some point. It's just a tiny little fan like you find in a computer or something like that. I'll deal with that when the time comes, if the time comes. So guys, I hope that was interesting for those of you who are curious about the toilet, thinking about buying one of these. And I don't know if the full-size Separett has the same sort of gasket system, but the Separett Tiny, which I love because it's so beautiful and it looks like a regular toilet and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in my tiny little bathroom. For the Separett toilet, it does use these. I think it's poor design. Now, maybe the new ones, in the ones you order now, they fix this issue, but I'm not putting a gasket back on. I will tuck this away with the other tank because I have two of them. And if I find I need it, I will put it back on. But the thing is, I've been now using this for a while without one of these and had zero issues. There's been no difference with smell, no difference with operation, no mess, anything like that. There. So, weird topic, I know, but you guys are curious about what it's like to live in a tiny house. You ask me about my toilet on a regular basis, and I wanted to do a full video since I was going to be taking everything apart and giving everything a good scrub. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, including to yourself. I love you, and I will see you next time.